data set to perform two sets of visualization. The first will be for us to determine the sales performance, and the second will be for us to determine the factors influencing sales. So let us go ahead and identify variables to these goals. The first goal, like I said again, is to determine sales performance. And to determine sales performance, we need to look at the product as a variable, the units sold as another variable, the gross sales as another important variable, and discounts as a variable as well. After defining these variables, we need to see how they are going to help us in the analysis. For the product, we want to segment this product variable to analyze sales performance for each product category. If we look at the product category, we have 6 product categories here. So we need to segment the data by products. So to do this, we have identified 3 charts that will be of immense importance to us. The first is the bar chart. The second is the line chart. And the third will be the stacked bar chart. So the first, we want to insert a bar chart of total units sold by product. Okay? So that means we are going to be using product and units sold, isn't it? Because our goal is to identify total units sold by product. So to insert a chart, in this case, because we want our dashboard to be dynamic, we will be using the pivot chart. In previous class, we talked about inserting pivot tables. But in this case, we will just go ahead and insert a pivot chart. And to do that, we head to our Insert tab on our ribbon. We then go to the Charts group and select Pivot Chart. On the Create Pivot Chart box here, we need to impute our table name or range. What I'll do, I'll take this out. If you notice, it's because I clicked on the C column, the product column. That is why it gave us as the source. So I'm going to click in here again and say Control A. So our table name is financials. Every other thing is good. We want it in a new worksheet and we say OK. So you realize that even though it's pivot chart we inserted, it still gave us exactly the same pivot chart fields and pivot chart areas. The difference here is that it's for the pivot charts, okay? So we want to do products on this axis, right? Whereas if it were in a pivot table, it will tell us row, right? Then we want to do units sold on the values. So you see, it inserted a pivot table and automatically gave us a pivot chart. So if for any reason we have to change this chart type, it's as simple as coming to the Design tab here on your ribbon, and on the Type group, say Change Chart Type. I'm going to click on that. Then we can now come to Bar Chart because our goal was to take on a bar chart. Okay, we'll come to the bar chart and say, okay. So we have changed this to a bar chart. So before we go ahead, I would like us to remove these labels. So I'll head on to Pivot Chart Analyze, go to Show and Hide, and then click the drop down on Fill buttons and say Hide All. So this legend, the total legend, is not important to me. So I'm going to take this total legend out and I'll take the label out as well. So to give me a clear view. So this bar chart has been able to show us the total units sold by a product. We can see that per sale had a highest total sale. So what we have here is a accumulation of the entire sales performance. So by the time we begin to slice through this data using some specific filters, we'll begin to see the performance over the years. So the second will be the line chart of gross sales over time. So what I'll likely do is to try to make things easy. I'll want to put everything in just one sheet instead of creating several sheets. I could just name this sheet by double-clicking on it and name it charts, so that I put all my charts here before taking them into a dedicated dashboard. So let me insert one row more, okay, another, and call this one bar chart of total units sold by product. So the second will be line chart of gross sales over time. I'll merge and center this. Okay, let me insert the line chart here. I can go to insert, pivot charts, then pick my source, Control A, then OK. So what I want to do now is to pick months to the axis and then gross sales to the value. Okay, so our chart of choice is the line chart, right? But by default, it gives us a column chart. So what we need to do is to go to click on the chart, go to design, and on our type group, we say change chart type, and we come to line chart, and this is fine. We'll work with this. So I want to continue to removing or hiding the fill buttons. So I'll go to pivot chart analyze. On the show hide group, click the drop down and say hide all. Then I want to take out the legend total. The legend total comes from this total. So I want to take this out as well to have the chart this way. All right. So what of our third variable? Our third was to understand discounts. So we are going to create stacked bar charts of gross sales versus discounts by month. So we are going to take the months to the axis, the categories. Let's use month name. And we want gross sales we also want a stack of discounts. Okay. So as usual, it gave us a column chart. So let us switch the chart type to a bar chart and a stacked bar chart. Okay. Let me repeat the process. As usual, by default, it gives us a column chart. But to switch this up, we go to design on our tab, then to type group and click on change chart type, then over to bar charts and then to stacked bar chart. And we say, okay. So the next we need to do is to take out the fill buttons. Okay, go to pivot chart analyze, go to show and hide, drop down and say hide all fill buttons. So we already know that our discounts is the one on yellow, right? So we can basically take out the legends. Okay, So one good thing about dashboard designs is that we can also create our legends on our own, making them beautiful. Okay. So now we have created these now. Basically, our variables of concern have been addressed. But I want you to take a look at our data set again. Basically, if you are looking at sales performance, I'd like us to look at sales performance per country as well. That will take us into inserting charts, okay? So let's add something to our charts, which we'll be using for our dashboards. So we want to look at sales performance per country. All right, let's go ahead and insert our chart. But it's important that I remind us that the maps are not parts of pivot charts, right? So we are going to be using a different method to enter our maps. We cannot enter maps directly as pivot charts because a map is not a pivot chart, okay? So we want it to be dynamic. So while we slash through data, we want to see the performance based on different areas on the map or different countries represented in the map. So to do that, we are going to basically insert a pivot table, then clone the pivot table, okay? So that the dynamic nature of the pivot table remains, okay? So let's insert a pivot, this time a pivot table instead of a pivot chart, okay? We come to our tables group, then we insert a pivot table. Then I say, okay. So we have the pivot table inserted, but we have to now create our pivot table. So we want to take country to rows, right? And let's take gross sales. We'll take gross sales to value. Okay, we have this now. We have Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, and United States. So to clone this, we are going to be using the get pivot data function. So I want to say country here now. Let me write the heading, then gross sales. Okay, so I can basically just copy this, highlight and say Control C and put it on countries. So these are labels and basically remain so. But the values where we need to really be dynamic about is the sum here, right? Okay. So how do we clone this? The get pivot data function is very simple. It's just by means of saying equal to, coming to copy the corresponding gross sales of Canada. You see the function now. Get pivot data, gross sales, the location of our pivot table, the row label, which is the country, then the unit, which is Canada. If I click enter, I will have the exact gross sales of Canada copied here. But for ease of analysis and for speed, we cannot just be doing equal to every time, right? We would like to autofill this, but for now we can't because it's going to copy the same thing. So, but I'd like to now change the formula a little bit. You know, this is similar to what we do in sum ifs, average ifs, where we put criteria. You can hard key in the criteria or give a location for the criteria. For instance, now, you see Canada is the criteria. If I decide and say I want to take this out and say Canada is in D59, I could change it and I say Canada is in D59. D59, sorry. You see, so now we are utilizing this list here, okay? So everything now remains good. We have the gross sales, is copying the data from the gross sales from this pivot, which is located in A58. and from the row label, which is country, but now our criteria is here. Okay, I hit enter. It's still correct. And now I can confidently or to feel, you see that they're matching, right? They have matching values. So if for any reason you change any label here, it won't be correct because it won't be matching what is on the pivot. Okay, now we have basically inserted this. So we could easily just insert our maps. For instance, let me try this now so you see. I click on the pivot table. I come to insert, and in the charts group, I say maps. It will tell me that you can't create this chart type with data inside the pivot table. Please select a different chart type or copy data outside the pivot table. So what we have done is to copy the data outside the pivot table. This is what we did here. The same data, maintaining the same flexibility, but outside the pivot table. So I could just highlight it now and now go to insert the charts group and now maps. If I click on maps, it's going to pick the maps. You see, the map chart is coming up. It's going to take a while with active internet to give us the location that is required. Okay, it's loading. All right. So this is it for the maps. We have inserted the maps. Like we did for other charts, I'm taking these out, but I'll leave the legends here, okay? So there are other things we will do, but we will just be taking the sum of those items into our dashboard. Like profits, it will be good for us to know our total profit, okay? So let us create another pivot table for our profits. So let's call it profits per product. So let's insert a pivot table and we'll say products, and then we go to profits. Okay. So we have our total profits. So we'll be utilizing this total for something in the future. Let's insert another, say, costs of goods sold. Okay, insert another pivot table, and I'm going to pick products and cost of goods sold. So we have cost of goods sold. Now, I think there's one more. Let's look at segments and profits. Segments and profits, or segment versus profits. Insert. So take segment, rows, profits, values. So we have this. So I want to format, even though they are in pivots, right? I want to be able to format them to Naira. So I'll go to home, that is to currency Naira. Click the drop down on number formats. Go to currency. Click the drop down on symbol. Scroll down to Naira, okay, and say okay. So we have the Naira represented here as well. The same thing here. All right, so we have inserted all the tables and charts we need.